I think a good person wants to make the world a better place, and it starts by making yourself a better person. I'm a big believer in that because if you make yourself a better person, you've incrementally made the world a better place, right?
Sure.
Imagine
Yeah,
if
yeah.
everyone in the world made themselves a better person. Imagine that, right?
That's the
It's a
dream.
dream.
That's the
It's a
dream.
dream, it's utopia, but imagine if everyone did. So I've only have power over me. So if I can help others, then I'm actually leveraging that idea more. And I got kids, they got to inherit this world, and if I could leave someone in a better place because they met me, then I mean that to me is worth more than money. Money's just a means to an end if you think about it, right? What's a bunch of
Sure.
paper? What you do with it that matters.
Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful episode of the Journey to Legacy podcast. My name is Wayne Veldsman, and today my guest is a unique individual, a world traveling trader, Mr. Troy Noonan of Backpack Trader LLC. Roy is going to tell us some stories. And you know what? It's crazy that I actually found out after the interview. I'm going to for sure bring him back. Found out after the interview that he started running his own businesses at age 25, actually in the nonprofit space. He ran multiple other companies until one fateful day when he was essentially so deep in his organization, he was sleeping like 3, 4 hours a night. But then he actually got this brochure that turned him on to trading. And trading changed his entire life. It changed his entire life so much that now he is essentially just giving back. He believes very, very heavily in helping others, in making this world a better place. His definition of legacy at the end of the episode is pretty interesting. I think you're going to enjoy it because it's surprisingly not as much about money as trading is obviously about money, right? And so get excited, buckle up. Troy shares some really, really great actionable information. He gives away a bunch of freebies to the audience also. And so if you're serious about taking control of your life, living a life of freedom on your own terms, I think you're really going to enjoy this interview with Mr. Troy Noonan of Backpack Trader.
Hey Wayne, thanks for having me. I've been excited about talking with you. So let's go.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, let's go. Troy, kick us off. Tell everybody just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm known as the Backpack Trader, which is the symbol of my business. It represents the freedom that you achieve or that you can achieve if you get trading in the markets right. And it's something that I've been working on for many, many years. Didn't come natural. I started like everyone else, person trying to trade, not knowing a thing. And basically in the early 90s, like 1991, before the internet, before cell
Oh,
phones, I received a brochure in the mail. Now, at the time, I was working a very busy business. I had a business I was running, and someone once told me it was better than a job. Not sure that's true. I was sleeping maybe 3 hours a day on average and probably killing myself. And I received this brochure that introduced these ideas of trading. And there was pictures of these patterns that if you knew what to do, once this pattern showed up, you could make a lot of money. And it went ahead and showed how. And
okay.
and the first pattern is maybe I thought it was a shampoo. It's called a Head and Shoulders pattern. And
Yeah, that's how I know it as a
so I mean
shampoo for
that's how
sure.
much I knew.
Uh,
What's that?
I said I also just know it as a shampoo, Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, so you're starting out right where I started out. So you're in
Yeah.
good position there. I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that if it can help me make some extra money so I wouldn't have to work as hard at my business, I'd probably
Sure.
extend my life. So I learned that pattern and I quickly opened up an account with a discount broker. And in those days, a discount broker meant you paid $50 commission on a trade per
Oh, wow.
contract, which was cheap in
Okay.
those days. Now it's like a
Okay.
dollar in and out. It's
Oh,
unbelievable how
wow.
things have changed. Before the
Oh,
internet, so I used to get paper
sure.
charts. I subscribed to paper charts. They'd
Oh,
come in
wow.
every Monday, and then I'd have to fill them in by hand every day with closing prices from the Wall Street Journal until the next week when
No
I got my new
way.
chart. And I identified in the course of doing this a head and shoulders pattern on one of the charts. And I
Okay.
placed one of my first trades. It was a short. That means you're betting the market will go down. And I shorted the British pound against the
Okay.
US dollar. It was a chart and it showed the pattern. And what I didn't realize at the time was I unwittingly happened upon the same price action trades that another famous trader was taking that led to the infamous trade that broke the Bank of England. It's famous.
What?
It happened in 1992. A billionaire by the name of George Soros, who I'd never even heard of, was also shorting the British pound. And
Oh,
so I took my several $1,000s that I made from that trade, put
sure.
my business in the hands of a capable manager,
Oh,
and backpacked through Europe for about 3.5 months. This is
oh,
back
there it
in
is.
three. And
Okay.
being a drummer, I picked up a set of bongos along the way because they were portable, and I started sitting in with street musicians everywhere I went. And on Ponte Vecchio, that famous bridge in Florence, right? You used
Okay.
to see it on
Okay.
the
I'm with
posters and
you.
all the travel agencies when there used to be
Mhm.
travel agencies that you can go walk into. I met a Venezuelan musician, and we would go and play for free beer in bars around Italy.
No
And
way.
we became really good friends. And we finally went our own way. And then after I had returned home, I received a fax. Remember those?
Yeah, of course.
Facsimile. Yeah, I received one of those from him. He would return to Caracas, Venezuela, inviting me to go and hang out with him and tour with his band around the country. And so I did. And within 24 hours, I ended up meeting the woman that I am now going to have my 30-year anniversary with this year.
Wow,
Uh,
congrats.
and all that came from that first trade. And needless to say, apart from the level of freedom I experienced backpacking through Europe and then South America, that I was
Sure.
hooked because of what trading can do for you. And I never tell this
Boy.
story to talk
Sure.
about me, although that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing now. But what I
Yeah.
usually do, I'm telling it because I want to impress upon your listeners how important it is to get trading right if you
Mm,
can.
mm,
Don't get it wrong. You get it right because it could change your life. So
mm.
Soros made billions. I made a wife and kids, and I'll let you decide who got the better end of that
Yeah, we'll
trade.
let you decide who got the better end of the trade. I
That's
have a
my
feeling that it
story.
was you, honestly. But Troy, thank you so much for a little bit of that background, right? I mean, we're here completely to talk about you today. And I mean, how interesting, right? The backpack trader. One of my first questions was going to be like, where did this originate? And it's that right after you started trading. Wow, 91, you are trading by paper. That's so interesting, right? And in one of, if not your first trader early on, you like struck it pretty well and it immediately gave you the freedom, huh? Like you said you got a manager for the other business that you were running.
Yeah, so I came back. My business was still doing great, and
Oh, wonderful.
I had to jump back into reality there. But I continued to trade, and then the internet finally came in. Remember the dot-com boom in the late
Sure.
'90s, and at that point in time, internet cafes were popping all up around the world. And I decided to go on another backpacking trip through Western Europe. And
Oh,
this is when the backpack trader became an adolescent. Like it was born without me
oh,
even knowing it had been born.
sure. Sure.
First trip backpack trader was born, but it was still a baby. And in the late 90s, 1999, actually, I'm backpacking through Europe and getting off the train and hopping into an internet cafe and placing some trades and then just going off to enjoy Bologna or whatever, and then hopping on the next train to the next place. And at
Oh,
that point, the backpack trader had become an adolescent because now I'm actually a second time living that element of freedom where just you do what you want when you want. You think you're going this place, and 5 minutes later you're going somewhere else just because of a whim or who knows what.
yeah.
And that level of freedom is pretty amazing to experience. Um, and so in those days, though, with the dot-com boom, I thought I knew so much, I was doing really well. But the fact is, the humble truth is that all you had to do was be able to fog a mirror and push a buy button, and you make money in those days. Didn't matter what you bought. But then the dot-com bust happened.
Sure.
And then, and while I didn't give all the money back, I gave back a lot more than I care to remember. It was painful to go through. every time the market would go down, I'd be like, oh, it's a bargain. I'm going to buy it now. And then it'd go down
Sure.
more. Oh, buy some more and then go down more. And it's like, no, I had to learn more. There were things that I was missing as a trader. And that
Interesting.
changed everything and set me on the course of where I'm at today.
Sure. Let me ask you something there. I mean, so I love this, right? So how you're saying that, at first you didn't even know Backpack Trader was born, right? First go around, because when you were backpacking, you weren't busy trading at that point, right? Because everything was on paper.
Right.
I'm guessing you were just backpacking. Go around two comes, right? Now you're saying Backpack Trader becomes an adolescent. Once again, little do you know that this is what your future holds for you. You're bouncing from internet cafe to internet cafe, dot-com boom, and the bubble burst, and now you have to learn more. I'm going to relate this to something that
Yeah.
I know that everybody that's listening doesn't know yet, is that you talk about currently, right, in Backpack Trader, that the people that you teach don't have to constantly be learning brand new things and like digging super deep into trading, right? Is that correct? Is that what today's environment is like, or did I misunderstand some information that I previously got?
No, you hit the nail on the head. I think that that's what causes traders, people trying to trade problems
Oh,
because there's too much information and there's no way for us to know
interesting.
everything, right? And
Yeah,
you end up
sure.
being a deer in the headlights, is frozen and confused. When you're confused, you know what you do? You do nothing.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
true.
most people overthink things. And I'm a believer, and this is what part of the program that I teach is that you want to keep it super simple. And if you're interested in learning how to trade, which I hope everyone is, you should be because it could change your life. And it's hard when you don't know what it is. Anything you don't know seems a lot harder than what it is until you learn it. And then all of a sudden it's
Sure.
like walking or riding a bike. It's not hard. Anyone can
Sure.
learn it. Um, but there's a few simple concepts that I learned early on. And if you just lean into those concepts and stay on that and don't let anything throw you off that track, you can do really well. And one of the concepts is that the price can't hide. It can't hide from itself. It can't hide from you. It is what it is. It's always there. So, like, I just
Mm,
did an interview just before jumping on your podcast with another
mm,
podcast who was concerned about all the uncertainty that's happening in the world now with the tariffs kicking in and all the changes that are happening really fast
sure.
in politics, especially U.S. politics, but how it's affecting the whole world. And there's a lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty and insecurity, and it's causing the markets to sell off and then go way up and then go way down and gyrate and all this volatility. And my whole point is that just makes for great trading opportunities because when the price action moves, we can make money. Now that leads me to the second principle, and that is if the price action can't hide from itself, then what do we do with that information? There's this idea that because the market reflects human psychology
Sure.
and human nature basically doesn't change, that certain patterns repeat over and over and over and over on
Mm,
all
mm,
markets,
mm.
on all charts and time frames. And you can learn how to identify a pattern like head and shoulders, to take
Yeah.
that as an example. And then because it happens so often, we can predict what's likely going to happen next. And that's a
Interesting.
good
Sure.
trade. That's a tradable event. We don't have to be
Okay.
100% right. We won't be. This is about putting the
Yeah.
odds on your side, just like the casino, right? The casino
Sure.
loses some hands, but at the end of the year, it's made a ton of money and all its customers go home broke because it has
Nice, nice.
odds,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
So
So it's
that
us
leads
being the casino, right? Us now being the casino, right?
the house
Not,
odds on our side.
there you go.
And
There we
so there's
go.
a principle then taking it one step further. If patterns occur over and over again and we can predict the likely outcome, there's this concept that I learned at a very early age that I teach everyone about trading is that the immediate past can predict the immediate future with a high degree
Mm,
of accuracy. And the immediate past is relative to what chart you're looking at. If it's a 5 minute chart, if it's a daily chart, if it's some other chart, the pattern occurs that's happened so often that we can kind of know what's going to happen next. And we place a trade and we minimize our risk. So if we're wrong, we get out with a small loss, but when we're right, we take that profit out. And
yeah.
and so that's what I build my strategies around.
Beautiful.
And my strategies print the trade on the chart. You can literally see it. It'll identify the pattern. It'll show you where to get in, where to get out with a loss or with your profits, and then how to manage the trade from start to finish. So you always know before you get in where you're going to get out. And then you can
Yeah.
take that and prove a trade plan will make you money, acquire the belief in it,
Yeah.
and then you could trade it and run it like a business. So my program's called
Interesting. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead. What's the
my
program
program
called?
is called the CEO Trader Mastermind. And the whole purpose is to take someone, person trying to trade, what we all start out with, and transform you into the CEO of your trading business. So you don't worry if a
Mm,
trade wins or loses, because they will. They'll win and they'll lose. Instead, you focus on running your trade plan like a business at the certain time that you've acquired the belief in it and that you see we work at creating a trade plan, proving it will make us money, practicing it until we're really good, just like a pilot in a flight simulator, and
mm,
then we earn the rights of passage to start trading real money. It's a step-by-step process, but you never risk your money on
nice.
anything until you're certain that that trade plan will make you money first. And so
Sure. Sure.
why doesn't
Makes
everyone do that?
makes
I don't know.
sense. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's everybody doesn't have the knowledge, I suppose. But so what's interesting, right? If I can just backtrack here, right, is for you, just to make sure I'm understanding and following, right? For you when you were first trading, right? Not dot-com boom, it was you almost couldn't lose theoretically, right? Everything was just going up, up, up. But then everything changed. And that's when you had to keep learning, right? But this was now being the late 90s. Now, seemingly to me, all the historical learning has happened. And it's just like it's almost right now in this time and age with trading, it seems like there isn't necessarily more that needs to be learned. These historical patterns are there so you can read and understand the trends that are happening. And it sounds like what you're saying is that's all you need to know until the entire game changes, almost like when it did in the dot-com burst. Am I sort of following along those lines?
Yeah, but there's a big missing piece in the middle.
Okay.
Um, so what I learned from the dot-com boom,
Yeah.
well, what I learned actually from the bust is
Sure.
that I didn't know what I thought I knew, and I wasn't as good
Yeah.
a trader as I thought I was. And so that led me to
Exactly.
think
Exactly.
that there's something else I had to learn. And I started
So,
sitting in on webinars.
yeah.
And when the internet just first started, I sat in on a webinar on one of the first online trading firms, education firms, and I bought their strategy. And what they taught me was the idea of structure. In other words, knowing the whole trade before you take the trade, the entry, the targets, the stop, following a plan based on what I just told you, a pattern that we could predict the likely outcome. This is how I learned these things. And I ended up corresponding with a lot of their members on one of their forums, and one day the one of the owners called me out of the blue. I often wonder what would have happened to me if I didn't wasn't here to answer that call. But he was looking to grow his business, and he invited me in as his first trading coach. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
I don't know anything about trading coaches, being a coach, but I
Sure.
accepted because I thought, well, this is going to force me to become a better trader. Can't coach somebody if I'm not able to be good at what I do. And within a month, I started calling a live trade room following their strategy, which I'd never done that ever.
Yeah.
And
What do you mean by sorry? What a live trade room? Tell me more.
yeah,
What do you mean by that?
well, just like we're in a Zoom call now recording
Sure.
this, in those days it wasn't Zoom, it was some other platform, but people would log in and I'd project my charts, talk to them, and tell them what to trade in a
Nice.
virtual room. So you could attend it from anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And I did that. I called a live trade room for 18 years straight. But
Wow.
imagine the very first day the curtain opens. I've never done this before. There's 186 people in the trade room waiting for me. And then the trade shows up on the right edge of the chart. And it made me feel so uncomfortable because I couldn't see what was going to happen next. That's how
Uh,
trading is. You don't realize it until you start doing it. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen next. I wanted
yeah.
to win, but no control over it. That's what causes people to do everything wrong, right? Person trying to trade. We're not wired to be good traders.
Yeah.
But at the time, four words popped into my head that changed my life. And I teach this to my students to this day. Lean on the system.
Being on the
What was the
system.
system? It was the strategy, it was the trade plan. And if I just call the trade the way the strategy says I'm supposed to, then I'm just being a professional doing my job. If the
There you
trade
go.
wins, I'm a hero. If the trade loses, it's not my fault. I'm just calling the strategy, right? What if I
Nice.
didn't call it? What if I interjected my own personality and my feeling insecure and that trade feels so awkward? I don't think I'm going to call that one. And then that's the one that goes ahead and wins. I'm the be an idiot. And
Yeah.
rightfully so. I have egg on my face,
Wow.
and then that wasn't acceptable to me. So the lean on the
Nice.
system changed everything for me because it made me focus on the fact that we don't know what's going to happen next. Nobody does. Nobody could tell the future. So
Sure.
so why try? Let's
Sure.
surrender to what we cannot control and instead focus on what we can control. Well, what can we control?
Mm,
We can
mm,
create a trade plan that we can prove stacks the odds in our favor so that we can show statistically over a large enough sample set, because these patterns happen over and over so often, we can predict what's likely to happen next, and we could build a trade plan around that that we could show will grow our accounts over time. Not a straight line,
nice.
2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so the first, so that first of all, have you ever had to sing in front of an audience?
Say
That's
again, they've had
frightening.
to sing. Yeah, 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 I have had
Yeah,
to sing, and it is frightening.
isn't it? Like people say they'd rather walk the plank and jump into shark
Yeah,
infested
of
waters.
course,
And
than public speaking, right? It's like what the number one fear in the world is apparently public speaking, and then number two is
yes,
death.
right. Well, singing is even more than public speaking. And then
There you go.
imagine then what I felt like having to call a live trade. It equates to that, but even more because I feel responsible for
Mm,
everyone else.
mm,
What they experience, and if they lose money, then that's not good. Well, that day we actually lost. We were trading the Russell Mini. It's a specific chart for day, symbol for day trading, and we ended up losing 17 ticks, which it was $170 a contract on
okay,
that first day. But I called the trade plan perfectly. I was a professional. And
sure,
then the next day, half the people were gone from
sure.
186 people to like somewhere in the 80s, 100 plus people gone, never to be heard from again. And what we ended up doing though is throughout the full calendar year that followed, we ended up making 156 points of profit
Uh,
by the end of the year per contract. And then on the 1 year anniversary, we made 17 ticks. Like you couldn't have written a Disney script any better. It's a true
that's
story.
so funny. So, what does 150 like points or ticks like actually equate to money wise? I guess it depends how much you're actually investing,
That's
huh?
$100 a point per contract. So if you're leveraging up,
Huh,
it would have been a lot of money. If as you're growing your
sure,
account, you increase your position size with a safe
sure.
formula.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
things just works
Interesting.
out.
Okay. So huge, I mean, huge win. And that is actually great that, like I said, the 1 year anniversary, it was a direct opposite. I said you couldn't have written it better. It was, first day losing 17 ticks, last day, not the last day of the 1 year anniversary, winning by it. Troy, what's interesting for me here is that you're talking, I've never heard about trading talked about as much of a business plan, I know you said it's called a trade plan, but it very much just equates to almost like a business plan, right? It's
It
taking
is.
the emotion out, especially today's day and age with entrepreneurship and business being so fast moving and even like digital businesses, you don't need a lot of startup capital. People don't have business plans as much as usual because they can just, you don't have to invest a lot of money, but a business plan is there so that you can take the emotion out, right? It's so that I thought through it exactly, and then you just follow the plan. And that's sort of what you've turned trading into, right? It's not emotional. It's not sitting in front of your computer for 12 hours a day, hoping and praying. It's a preset plan, huh?
Yeah, and so you've just hit upon a lot of really important themes with what you just said. Sitting in front of your computer all day is definitely the wrong thing to do, in my opinion. I don't need another job. I'm doing this so I don't have to have a job,
That's right. That's
and
right.
I don't want to nurse a bad set of hemorrhoids every day and just reach for that Rolaids and deal with that acid reflux every other minute. Or no, that's no way to live. Our trade plan, like for me, the perfect day trade plan is you hit your goals on the very first trade and you're finished. So when I was backpacking again through Europe last summer, I was
Oh, sweet.
actually in Florence again,
Oh,
and I traded in a cafe in Florence. I had someone behind me filming with a little iPhone, and I was also showing it on my screen. And it was the same trade plan that we've been using for years. And although with one of my newer strategies, but it was crude oil. Crude oil is a great market for trading, for day trading. And it the trade showed up. I'm talking through it while I'm doing it live from a cafe. You can hear the baby crying, the people walking around, serving coffee, this and that. And the trade hit the entry and the target so fast. I was in and out and done that if you would have sneezed, you would have missed it. And the trade was set up so that it got in, got out, and within less than a minute, I had hit my goals. And so I
oh,
always joke, people ask me what I do for a living. I'm like, well, today I work 2 minutes. What do you do for a living? Right?
wow. Wow.
I hit my goals. I was done. I was able to shut everything down and go enjoy a beautiful day in Florence because I had hit my goals in like a minute, literally.
Wow.
So I did the video. I show it a lot. And if you want, I can let you if you want
Uh,
to edit it in this, you certainly
Definitely.
can.
No, you're gonna send it to me for sure. Please. Like I would love to see this. I mean, Troy, what's realistic though, right? So it's cool to say like or that you're telling me that you guys have certain goals and targets to hit, and then after that, follow the plan, right? Step
Yeah.
away. Don't be emotional in trying to force things. But I mean, what's a realistic time frame that let's just say your students, right, that are finding true financial freedom, right? Your goal here is to get people out of their 9 to 5 that they're forced to be in every day, right? To actually have financial freedom, true time and life freedom, location freedom, everything. What do you think is the average amount of time that they're actually working to sustainably bring in a full-time income?
Everyone's different and everyone's life situation is different, but let me give you a
Yeah,
few basic guidelines to help paint the picture. There's
please.
a capital growth workshop that we include with our training, and it teaches how you can turn a $50 a day profit. $50, if you net out all
Mm,
your wins and losses over a long period of time and you make $50 a day per
mm,
contract, right? So it grows per contract as you grow your account, that you can turn that into a $10,000 a month income within
interesting.
24 months. Now, that's if you start
124
with the right
months.
amount of capital and you're able to maintain
Okay.
that. But even if you don't, or even if you can't, it's a formula that teaches us the power of compounding. Einstein's eighth wonder of the world. So you
Yeah,
give
sure.
yourself a raise at some point by moving your finger from the one to the two. And now you're trading twice as large, but it's still a small percentage of your capital because as your capital
Mhm.
grows, you can increase your position size. And if you draw
Yeah,
down, you decrease your position size. But eventually, you turn that $50 a day into a $10,000 a month income, 24 months,
sure.
36 months, however long it takes. And
Sure,
then,
sure, sure.
depending on how much you start with, and then what do you think happens after that? I mean, it continues to grow up even more. So
Yeah.
that's one idea to think about. Here's another one. A lot of my students and the people I love to work with don't know about trading at all. They come in knowing
Mm,
nothing,
mm,
zero. They've never traded before. They start from scratch, and that's who I love to work with because I could teach you right the first time. So you don't have to then go back and unlearn bad habits and pay a heavy toll to the school of hard knocks, which is what usually happens if you don't have a mentor or someone teaching you the right way to do things in any field,
absolutely.
but in
Absolutely.
trading especially. So um, this guy, Mike, and I could even give you a video on him if you'd like, but he came in knowing nothing. And a year later, he's in my CEO Trader Mastermind program. He is trading his account live, crude oil, with my newer strategy, the same one I'll show you from the cafe in Florence. And he's calling a live trade room Monday through Friday, trading his account live with people in there watching, just like I did
Sure.
20 plus years ago. It's amazing.
Oh,
And it took him about a year, maybe a little less, that much time to get to that point where he
sure.
had the trade plan that he believed in and he knew he could execute and he was ready. And if it
Yeah,
takes a year, I mean, think of any business. How long does it take
of
to start
course.
it and get successful when most businesses fail anyway? But That's
Yeah,
not an
within
unreasonable amount of
5 years, right? Most businesses fail within 5 years. That means that if they
yeah, or
even
sooner.
gave it up to 5 years chance. Exactly. I think it's
Exactly.
90% is in within year one, something like that.
Mhm.
And then it's the whatever's left over still, it's like over 50% of those are within 5 years. Uh,
Yeah. So back to your point, trade plan, treat it like a business. Why
mm,
and how? I mean, think of the local dry cleaner. All right, let's say you just moved into this new area and you notice this new town. It's kind of like the town I moved into 20 plus years ago, but they didn't have a dry cleaner, and someone decided, hey, we need a dry cleaner. You open up a shop, you put it in. It's going to take you time to build a market, right? It's going to take you time to get customers, but in the meantime, it costs you some money. You have to invest time and effort, but eventually you have a plan,
yeah,
standard operating procedures. You open up
definitely.
at 8 a.m. every day, you close at 7 p.m. every day.
Mm,
You run your business, and okay, so now equate that to what a trade plan is. A trade plan is going to say, okay, I'm going to start trading at 9 a.m. New York time every day, Monday through Friday. I'm going to trade this chart, this market with this strategy the same way. And when I hit my goal, which is typically hitting a specific target and having a winning result, which could happen on the very first trade, then I use what I call the power of quitting, and I empower myself to quit
mm,
trading for the day and to close the shop and go live my best life today. And so you end
beautiful.
up taking that trade plan and you run it like a business. It is your
Run
business
like a
plan.
business. I just want to relate to everybody how important like planning is, right? And then like to not get too emotional about things, right? You put the plan in place, you hit your targets during the day, and then what did you call it? How you empower people to step away and go live their life?
We call it the power of quitting,
The power of quitting, right? Like
which
how
is
interesting is
counterintuitive.
that? It sounds counterintuitive, but like it's just being smart, right? It's following the exact plan. But please, you
You hit your
started
goal.
telling a story about one of your students. Where was he? In Spain or in Italy? And like
South of
what
France.
south of France? Yeah. So what exactly was happening with him?
Well, I mean, at first, he was using one of my earlier strategies called the counterpunch trader, and he was trading DAX futures, which is a stock index in Germany.
Okay.
And you have to have quite a bit of money to trade it because it's expensive to trade. But he had what he needed, and he flew out to meet me at a live training I did in Southern California in Los Angeles. And I didn't know it was him, but he introduced himself, and you know how people don't look anything how you imagine.
Yeah, sure.
This definitely didn't look anything like I imagined, but really nice guy. But earlier, he was driving me nuts because he asked me so many questions, 20 questions and then 20 more, and it never ended. And I was like, oh, he's driving me crazy. But he
Yeah.
ended up teaching me more about myself and making me better at
Wow.
what I do because I realized that's the kind of person I want to work with.
Wow.
And I completely turned my whole way of thinking around with questions. Now I want questions. Ask every question
Sure.
imaginable. That's how you learn. So, but I always treated it very professionally, and so he flew across the world to tell me that he had reached his critical mass. In other words, he had grown his account up where he was trading as large a size as he could, and he
Oh,
had retired with the trade plan that he was using with my strategy. And now he just sits on the veranda watching beautiful people walk by, drinking his Bordeaux wine and Antibes in the
what?
south of France. And
What?
it was very, very inspiring. I tell that story because, I mean, it came from out of the blue. I didn't expect him to be in
Sure.
LA. I didn't expect to meet him, and I certainly didn't expect for that. I don't know what a lot of the people I work with are doing
Uh-huh.
unless they
Sure. Of
tell me, right?
course.
Because I'm
Yeah.
teaching people how to empower themselves. I'm not the one that's
Love that.
man. I don't manage money. I don't
No.
teaching
No.
people how to do it on their own.
Yeah, I mean, so that's awesome, right? When you hear stories like that and you can actually see the true impact that you've made, right? You have empowered them to have control of their lives, right? Of every aspect of their life, arguably. And so, but I'm curious for you, right? This is a question I think a lot of people get, and I'm sure you've gotten it. If you've been so good at trading, right? It pays all of your bills. Well, I assume so. why are you teaching people? Why are you needing to create this another business and income stream versus just why don't you go sit on your veranda and go drink Bordeaux and let your
Yeah,
trade plan pay the bills?
it's a fantastic question. I get it all the time. And a couple things. One, I didn't intend to start this business. It happened
Oh,
all organically, and now it's a great business. So, I mean, it's
okay.
very profitable to teach people something of value,
Definitely.
right? So it's a great and also it's extremely satisfying because what in the end I think a good person wants to make the world a better place, and it starts by making yourself a better person. I'm a big believer in that because if you make yourself a better person, you've incrementally made the world a better place, right?
Sure.
Imagine
Yeah,
if
yeah.
everyone in the world made themselves a better person. Imagine that, right?
That's the
It's a
dream.
dream.
That's the
It's a
dream.
dream. It's utopia, but imagine if everyone did. So I've only have power over me. So if I can
Mhm.
help others, then I'm actually leveraging that idea more. And I got kids, they got to inherit this world, and if I could leave someone in a better place because they met me, then well, I mean that to me is worth more than money. Money's just a means to an end if you think about it, right? What's a bunch of
Sure.
paper? What you do with it that matters, right?
What you do with it that
It's just what you
matters.
do with
Yeah.
it. Now it's not even paper, it's just digits. It's what you
Yeah,
do
true.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well,
I
well
mean,
said.
and then here's another thing. A
Mm.
public, could I plug my book?
Oh, please
Do
do.
you mind?
Absolutely. Please.
I should have cleared this with you first, but I got a call out of the blue, just like when that company called me out of the blue. A publisher called me out of the blue, and they're the ones that compete with the dummy guides. They do the quick start guides, and they
Okay.
asked me if I would do a day trading book for them, and I did. And this book has become their top selling title out of all the topics in the world. This is their number one book, and it has over 1,000 5-star reviews on Amazon, and then Book
Great.
Authority that rates books, all kinds, millions of them, uh, sent me an email last year saying they considered this one of the top trading books of all time, and I'm like, oh my
Wow.
goodness, you know,
Troy,
and that
good for
oh
you. That's man.
yeah, it was very humbling. And we have this deal now where we're giving the digital download for under $5. It's a 75% discount, and attached to that is a quick start trading boot camp.
Okay,
And
beautiful.
so, um, I don't know if you're planning if you're going to put it in your show notes or
We'll
what,
put
but
in the
I
show
gave
notes,
you a
but let me just hear right now, please. Go ahead and pitch it. Tell everybody where to go, where to get it. And the book is simply just called Day Trading Quick Start Guide, right?
yeah, day trading quick start guide, and
Wonderful. But
it's on
yeah, tell everybody
Amazon.
where's on Amazon, and then where's
But
this the boot camp, the digital version? Give me some specifics.
yeah, I'll give you a link that you could put in your show
Definitely.
notes where someone can get it for a 75% discount. And then
Amazing.
we also offer we're doing this boot camp called the Golden Ticket Special where it's $1,000 boot camp and you get it for 97 bucks. It's basically a 90% discount. And I bonus everybody one of my strategies for free and even a second strategy that I'm doing for your guests, where they can get two of my strategies for attending the boot camp, and it's just a lot of value for like less than the cost of a full tank of gasoline in your car, and uh, and I do these boot camps every month. So
Awesome.
if your members are interested, they could send a text to our Instagram which is Backpack Trader. If you just search for that on Instagram, and I'll give you the link for the show notes, and they need to type in CEO3, the number three. That way I know they're coming
Beautiful.
from your audience. They text
Yeah,
CEO3, and then they'll get the link to the boot camp thing. Um, yeah,
love it. Love
that's
it.
about it.
Troy. No,
Uh,
I appreciate it. I love that. I mean, what an honor that first off, again, congrats on your book, man. That right, that quick start guide came to you like they're the competitors of, the Blank for Dummies books. And that is over 1,000 5-star
right.
reviews. They say it's one of their top sellers. Then you said then this other like rating entity for books that it's one of the best books written on
Book,
specifically trading, day trading ever.
yeah.
Really, really unbelievable. That's awesome. And then let me just reiterate also your point here, though. My question to you was, why are you teaching people, right? You you don't make more than enough money, you live in a nice place. And the answer is I just want to reiterate it because that's the true belief of myself and of most of our audience. And the reason that it's our journey to legacy is that it is truly always a continued journey. And you even said, right, start by making yourself better. Like if we only made ourselves better, like the world is going to actually start to be a better place as well because it like ripples through everybody. And so I mean, it's great.
Right.
Have you sort of always felt and thought that way about self-improvement and about helping others? I'm guessing no, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, back in the 1980s, I started a nonprofit corporation called Jazz for the Homeless. It was on the heels of Live Aid.
Oh, no
And
way.
the idea was to produce jazz events and give the money and, of course, public awareness to the plight of the homeless. And I linked up with the Center for Human Settlements at the United Nations,
Oh,
who made a decree to end world homelessness by the year 2000. And
oh,
they hired my new fledgling nonprofit company to produce a big jazz event for them in the lobby of the United Nations, New York City, to kick off this proclamation on World Habitat Day, the first Wednesday in October, to end world homelessness by the year 2000. And this was on my 25th birthday, basically 5 days after I turned 25. I gave a speech in the general lobby of the lobby of the General Assembly of the United Nations and did this historic jazz event with like names they're dead now, but they were
mm,
legends even then when they were alive. And so I always had this strong sense of wanting to give something back. I just felt grateful that
mm.
I was here in the first place, you know. It's
Wow. Troy, thanks for sharing that, my friend. Like, man, we should have rewound all the way back to like where you started before even getting into trading. And like, I didn't even ask you about your previous business before that. And so I think we're gonna have to have you back and chat more. But that is so crazy to me, my friend. Like at 25 years old, like in
yeah.
what the UN General Assembly, like in what Jazz for the Homeless. Is that what the nonprofit was?
As for the Homeless Incorporated. Yes. I still
Nice.
have the footage from that concert on these
Wow.
old videotapes, and I can't do
Yeah.
anything with it 'cause I don't have the copyright
Uh,
agreements with the artists, which is very complicated
Interesting.
'cause labels and artists and their
Yeah.
descendants. Most of them are dead now, and
Sure.
but I have the footage, and it's amazing music. I just don't know what to do with it.
Wow. Wow.
It seems like
Interesting.
another lifetime ago, really.
I
1980s.
believe it. Yeah, the 80s, man, that's a little while. So Torch, you've been
I'm
helping
old.
people. You're aging like a fine wine, sir. Yeah, many more years to go in your wine cellar, that's for sure. But so for a long time you've been helping people. And so along the theme of the show, I'm always curious to ask, like around legacy. Right? I think in the and I was about to say the olden days, legacy used to people think was just money. What does legacy mean to you? And like what's the legacy that you're trying to leave on this world?
Yeah, I mean, I often think about that, and really, all I can do is go back to why I'm doing this in the first place. Is I think helping people is the biggest legacy of all because that's the thing that's everlasting and will continue when I'm gone. I mean, however much money I make or whatever, what good is that once I'm gone? I can't take it with me. And sure, I could leave it with my family and friends and whatever, but what are they going to do with it? They don't value it as much. They didn't have to commit their blood, sweat, and tears to earning it. And so, how does it really help them other than they could buy some nice things? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm being very general. Who knows? I'm not
Would
trying
be.
to be judgmental on, but that's not a legacy in my opinion. My kids are like part of my legacy, but helping people
Mm,
is something that transcends, uh,
nice.
a person's life, I think. And so that means a lot to me. And I like it. I like talking about trading. I enjoy working with people. Like it brings me joy. And like I'm a big Warriors fan, right? And everyone knows
Uh-huh.
Steph Curry is amazing. Last night he was on fire, by the way.
Nice, nice.
But the point is that he plays with joy. That's one of the things that their coach talks about. And it really struck home with me because what good is a joyless life? Why? I mean, if you here's another thing that I often I was lucky enough to hear this at a young age, and it's this question, and you ask it of yourself and see how you answer it. But the question is, if you can decide between excellence or
Mm,
mediocre, and
mm,
excellence is a actual thing you could actually choose and decide, then how
sure,
could you choose mediocre, right?
sure,
Choose
of course,
excellence every time.
of course.
I
Yeah,
mean, you live once. And so I've lived with that idea from a very young age, and I've carried it into everything I do. And it's made a huge difference in everything. I mean, if it's not excellent, I'm not going to put it out there in the world, that's for sure.
sure.
Um, and I just feel like I've built my reputation on that, but I also think it affects people because, again, it's about me making myself a better person is the thing I have power to do as my
Mm,
contribution to help make the world a better place. Because why else be here?
wonderful.
I don't
Well,
know. That's just
I
how I look
compl
at things.
I love it, and I completely agree, right? That money is a means to an end, right? It definitely aids towards happiness and security. And sure, we all want to help our kids and our loved ones and our friends be financially safe and secure. But what truly matters is empowering people, right? Empowering people and helping and spreading knowledge and hoping that transcends generations, right?
I mean, I think so. If you think about all the great accomplishments throughout humanity, it's always
Mm,
there's some element of people being helped by
yeah,
whatever that thing is, or the opposite.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
with the great tragedies that have occurred in our history.
of
But another
course.
a real simple way to think about it is how many people that do you know that maybe has a lot of money that aren't happy?
Mm,
I
for
mean, the
sure.
money doesn't bring the happiness. That's got to come from a deeper set of values and ideals. My wife, who I met in Caracas, Venezuela, that's a poor country,
Oh, wow.
and they've been under the thumb of dictators, both on the left and the right, for years and years and years. To this day, they still are. But what they had that was missing in the United States, and most of the people I knew that I was growing up with, and my background, people I just that colored my life, what they had was a sense of joy that you couldn't find in America because what they didn't have in money, they had in the love and the experiences that they shared with one another.
Beautiful.
And they had more
Beautiful.
fun than anyone I ever knew from this country. The fun that they had on a day-to-day basis, the laughter, the fun, was intoxicating, and none of it required money. It taught me a lot, and you know,
Yeah.
life's
Man,
just a bunch of moments strung together, and one day you take your last breath and it's over. So make the best of every, right?
a bunch of moments strung together, and one day you just take your last breath and it's sort of over, right? Like, so true. Amazing, right? Troy, I feel like you and I could have a entire conversation just about your learnings from your travels, actually, right? Like you went to
Oh
these
yeah.
places that where you saw that true happiness definitely didn't come from money, right? It came from your experience around each other and within yourself as well, huh? Like, I bet you just have endless stories because you still backpack a lot. Also, I think you just said that last year you were back in Europe again, backpacking,
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I
traveling.
carry a backpack because I'm able to I have a custom
Your
laptop and a
laptop,
portable
nice.
monitor I can set up really quick and trade from anywhere if I have an internet, but I'm not schlepping a backpack around. I mean, I'm staying in Airbnbs and in hotels
Of
and
course, of
uh,
course.
the backpack trader, which is what this is here. It's really just
Absolutely.
a symbol of freedom. And
Mm,
it all came from that very first trip when that early years back in the early 90s when I
love
experienced that level of freedom. Trading can make you free. It can
her.
give you the freedom, and I always equate that to the backpack trader lifestyle of freedom. But you don't have to schlep a backpack around. You can just trade from your sofa if you want, or the Siberian
Of course.
Express. It's up to you. You decide. And that's the main thing, is that you're
Absolutely.
empowered to call your own shots, and
Nice.
it's not about having to work or do a job or be
Mm,
enslaved to just the trappings of modern society, which there's nothing wrong with that. But
sure.
if it takes away your happiness, or if you can't live a happy life, that's a problem, right? So this
Huge.
is a way to empower yourself
Love
with
it.
some freedom, freedom to choose. That's what freedom is, the ability to choose what you wish to choose. What's
Nice.
more valuable than that, really? Health,
Not much.
obviously.
Health.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the health, nothing. But other than that, the freedom and the ability to choose. Troy, absolutely
Right.
amazing. Thank you so much for being here. If people want to connect with you again or want to connect with you more, I think you plugged your Instagram earlier. But what's the best way? Where can people go to learn more about Backpack Trader and about yourself?
Well, okay, so a couple things. I have a website, backpacktrader.com,
Okay,
and someone can
perfect.
go right on there and download a free ebook called The 12 Powers to Successful Trading. One of the 12 powers is the power of quitting.
That's
We
wonderful.
talked about.
Nice.
There's
We did.
11 other powers. And you could quickly, that's a very valuable book because if you get those 11, I call them powers, but they're just 11 concepts and you
Mm,
incorporate that, you're going to know so much more about trading than anyone else that doesn't have that and how to be successful. So that's one thing they can get for free, backpacktrader.com.
perfect.
But I also gave you a phone number that they could text CEO 3,
Three.
and then they get the link, or they can go to our Instagram. I'll give you the link
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's one other link I made, which is backpacktrader.com/podcast. Just that,
Nice.
backpacktrader.com/podcast. And that will get you to the being able to register for the Quick Start Boot Camp that I talked about. And that's something
Beautiful.
we do ongoing.
Nice, nice. We'll be sure to link to everything down below, but overarching backpacktrader.com, your Instagram, shoot 'em
That's easy.
CEO3. Troy, thank you so much. Honestly, so much wisdom. I'd love to already invite you back because I feel like we honestly just scratched the surface about all of the different lessons and learnings that you have to share with this world. So I greatly appreciate it.
Anytime, Wayne. I love having these conversations, so just let me know and I'll be happy to come back.
And that's a wrap, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Please let me know what you thought. Man, I loved it. Here's a couple of quotes that I wrote down. Uh, he says to lean on the system, right? Huge theme here is have a system, have a plan in place. Don't let your emotions get in the way. Follow through with a plan. Roy says, focus on what you can control, not what you can't control, right? I think he was specifically talking about in trading, like if you have losses, well, just keep focusing on what you can control, right? The plan that you put in place, keep sticking with it, not just focusing on what you can control, the loss you've already had. He talks about having to invest into businesses, right? Trading, when you're learning it and you're practicing, it's an investment, right? He gave the example or used the analogy of starting a dry cleaners. You have to invest. You have to build up a customer base. You have to learn, follow through with the plan. And then last but not least, I just want to mention that he said, start by making yourself better first, right? If the whole world focused a little bit more on improving ourselves, it would just ripple and improve others, right? I asked him this question of, if you're so good at trading and you have all this financial freedom, like, why are you helping others? And it's simply because he wants to help this world. And so I encourage all of you to do the same. And little do you know, that is what we're doing in Journey to Legacy. Come find us over at journeytolegacy.org and join a community that is focused on helping ourselves and helping others to improve mentally, physically, and financially every day. Become the best version of yourself and leave a meaningful legacy on this world, just like Troy is doing. Come check us out over at journeytolegacy.org. Until next time, my name is Wayne Veldsman, and I will see you soon.